That's the
You
one thing
know,
people will say. How in the world can you work every day with your husband?
that's
And
how
I'm
you
like,
really know they're the one.
oh yeah.
Guys, welcome back to Al Beltran podcast. I have a very special guest, a good buddy of mine, awesome entrepreneur. Her name is Lori Murphy, and she is owner of Title Services of Florida and Real Estate of Florida, two killer businesses right here that we do a lot of work with. Miss Lori Murphy, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Well, I really do appreciate you being here. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Luckily, I do know a lot of really cool people, so I'm noticing. I was just, every guest that I have in, I was like, man, we actually, we have a lot of connections. There's a lot of stuff that we've done together, and we're definitely going to get into that.
Good.
But with this show, I like to, get to the meat and potatoes of who Miss Lori Murphy is. And what I like to start with, and this is if you remember, I'm sure you do, but as a child, like, what kinds of things do you remember from your childhood that you think really kind of are still part of you now?
Well, I mean, I always loved to be outdoors, which is kind of funny that I ended up in Florida. I'm originally from Cincinnati,
Okay.
so born and raised in Ohio. So I don't know. I always loved to be active and doing something. I cannot sit still. There's no way I can sit still. I always had to be doing something. As a young child, I mean, we had snowmobiles, we went skiing, we had, so it was always active.
That's good.
And I'm still that way today. So
Oh, yeah.
there's
Oh,
no,
you
like,
go-
retirement doesn't even happen. No way. I have to work. I have to do stuff.
Yeah, no, you definitely go hard. So, like, when you were in school and stuff, were you like in high school? Were you like into the sports, or were you more of like an academic, or
So,
both,
well, yeah.
or a
I could
partier?
have done better in academics, but as far as sports, I played volleyball.
Okay.
And then outside of that, I was actually a football trainer. So
Oh, wow.
my brother was a big football star. He was 2 years older than me. So I was
Okay.
always on the field wrapping ankles and, getting water bottles and all that kind of good stuff. So, I mean, very
Okay.
active.
Yeah.
I loved being involved. I love being around people. I love helping people. And, and so I think that maybe ties into that. But, yeah, always busy doing stuff. I was friends with everybody. So I wasn't like in a per se like a clique.
Okay.
Definitely had friends in every genre of the high school.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember it was like, I played football, but I was, I had, the jock friends and stuff, but I was also really into music, and like, cause I was, and with that whole scene, and me being, being Latin American as well. So I was in with a lot of the Hispanics as well. So I was kind of the same, I just kind of, I did my thing, and I was close with a lot of people. I always looked at people that were like, oh, that stuck in their clique, and they were just like, oh, don't talk to anybody else. I never understood that.
No,
you
I've
know?
never been that way. I'm
Yeah.
always friends with everybody.
Yeah, and you still are. You're awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I could see that, being active, always trying to do something, have your hands in something.
Yeah.
And then did you take the college route?
No.
Okay.
So I actually went to hair school. Once
Okay.
again, always wanted to help, always wanted to do things. I loved the beauty industry. So in Cincinnati, we actually had a distributorship of Aveda, which was a very well-known, and I wanted to be a part of that.
So what are those hair products?
Yep. Well, it's hair, skin, makeup
Okay.
at that time, and body care. So I started with them. So I was a hairdresser. But then throughout my career, actually did everything that had to do with beauty. So I worked for Aveda Corporate. I helped to open up salons. I was
wow.
a business development manager. So I actually helped salons build to be, what they wanted to be. I would help hairdressers get to six figures. Everything. I was an educator. I trained on it. I actually moved to Florida because I was the assistant director at the Aveda Institute in Davie. So that's what brought me here.
Oh, wow.
So I was actually over 300 people in that school, educators as well as students. So.
Oh, how cool, man. So you kind of, you were in training, teaching people, in training for what you're doing now by teaching people how to build their business and how to do all these things. And then now you're doing it for yourself and
Yes.
doing an amazing job at it.
Thanks.
So
Thanks.
right now you have Real Estate of Florida and partners with your husband.
Yep.
Title Services of Florida.
Yes.
Same thing, Mr. Todd Murphy. What's up, buddy? I love Todd. He's great.
He's awesome.
I've known him for a while, man. I've known him, I think, definitely longer than I've known you.
Yeah.
So he's amazing. You two together are just like one of my favorite things in the world, man.
Thank
it's so
you.
cool.
We actually work well together.
I see it. It's inspiring, because I work with Caitlin as well. So, I love to see other models that work,
Yep.
And then also we have the Rising Tides Foundation.
Yes. Yes,
All
we
right.
do.
So a little bit about the Rising Tides Foundation for people that don't know.
Yeah, so Rising Tides Foundation was founded by myself, you, and Georgette Angelos. Love her too.
Yes.
I guess a couple years ago now we've had it. Because I think I'm getting ready to renew our second year. So
wow.
Yeah. So
time for a party.
It's time for a party.
I know.
So that came about just because once again we wanted to give back and just wanted to find a way to do it. And some of the avenues that we were going down, we kept getting stopped because of the 501c3s. So we're like, hey, let's just do our own.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and we've done a few volleyball tournaments. We've had some parties at our office and on the island. And we're looking forward to doing some more. Always the Thirsty Third Thursday. Coming out the third Thursday of every month and just networking and getting to know people. My ultimate goal with the foundation is to be at a point where we can truly just write big checks to people. Someone comes to us and they need something, I want to give it out. I don't want to have to wait. I don't want to have to worry about it. Just if they need it, we can help them.
Yeah.
So
it's
I'm looking forward to grow.
Yes. And it's, we all have so many things happening, but like you say, that is something so beautiful, and and it's cool that we can find our time to put these little things together, and then I can't wait to see where it goes as well.
Yes.
So real estate, tell me, where did it come from? How did you say, okay, I'm gonna get into real estate?
Okay, well, I'm gonna back up a little bit just to kind of put in another niche of me growing up, because it's gonna, I don't know, it might bring some stuff together. So like I said, I was always a hairdresser, and then a friend of mine called me, and she worked for Procter and Gamble.
Okay.
And they were hiring hairdressers, and she's like, "Do you want to work?" And I was kind of getting tired of being in the actual salon business. So I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I actually got hired on to Procter and Gamble in their research and development. I do not have a college background, okay?
Yeah.
And so I got hired in their research and development on herbal essences. So you remember herbal essences, the shampoo? Yes.
Everything. God, talk about hitting the market by storm. That was like.
Yeah. So they hired me in because of my background with Aveda. So I knew all about botanicals and fragrance and how you could relate that to the consumer. So I was with Procter & Gamble probably for about 6 years.
Wow.
And with that,
I had no clue.
I know. See, that's why it's a cool little niche, because with that, I lived more of the corporate level, So like I can do an Excel sheet like nobody's business because of Procter & Gamble.
So organized. I love working with you. You're like with everything. She's like, all right, I already got everything filled out. Everything's into the state. We're ready to go. You just show up, Al. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah. So I think, Procter & Gamble for that. But what was cool with that is I got to work with like their advertising team, their marketing team, obviously research and development. I traveled to Paris, to Brussels. I was in Venezuela. I was all over the world with them, and it was fantastic. But at the end of the day, P&G is very, very cutthroat. It's engineers, it's PhDs, it's, everybody thriving to get higher. Whereas I was like, well, you can just give the promotion to them because I'm just having fun and this is what I want to do. So unless I was going to go on to college and marketing, it was time for me to step away. So I did. My father about had a heart attack because of the stock. But, it was what I needed to do. So in stepping away from that, I took all of that with me and then came back to, then I got it with Aveda in Florida. But during COVID, my company was, offering some packages to let some people go. I had been with Aveda collectively for probably about 28 years. So in thinking about it, I was like, you know what? I want to try something new. And Todd, my husband, was he's been in real estate for over 20 years. And then we had just opened the title company right before COVID hit. And I was like, I can just come and help out at the title company. Like I can do that, no problem. And so I did. And then he's like, why don't you get your real estate license? I'm like, okay. So I got my real estate license, and then I got my title license. So I'm actually a licensed title agent, a real estate agent, and then I just finished my broker school, so I'm going to get my broker license.
Oh, congratulations. Yes, so cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I never would have done it had it not been for Todd, but I love it. So I've always been in an industry of helping people and making them feel good about themselves, being a day maker per se. And I still do the same thing, but now it's with a home, you know, and helping them to find a home. I love title because when people are buying a home, they're spending probably the most amount of money that they're ever going to spend, right? It's a scary situation. I love being able to comfort them and let them know that I've got you from contract to close. And at the end of the day, when they say this was the smoothest process ever, it's like, yes.
Yeah, that goes a long way. It's funny. I just had this question the other day, and I was talking to one of my clients. I'm in real estate as well. They said, so what do we need this title agent for? I was like, well, do you want the house or not? You know. So in a nutshell, if somebody were to ask you that, what do we need this title agent? I was like, I just started laughing.
I mean, first and foremost, obviously for the title insurance, you know, I mean, just making sure that, you know, nothing's going to come back on the new owners of, you know, I mean, we go back 30 years. We're researching for 30 years to make sure that it's a clear and free title, making sure there's no open mortgages, there's no open liens or anything that's on that house that's going to be tied to the house, which means it's tied to the new owner. But I think separate from that, you and I were having a conversation about title once, and I'm like, holy crap, I do a lot. But it's, you know, I mean, it's talking to the municipal lien search. It's getting the estoppel from the HOA. It's dealing with the lender. It's making sure that, you know, everyone is on the same page, making sure the commission is, you know, correct for the agents. And there's a lot that goes into it. So I think my question would be my answer to that question would be, is taking all of that from you. You just enjoy buying your house and let us do the dirty work.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. So important. And, you know, I want to say this is my third year now in real estate, and still, like, without somebody doing everything that you're doing, I mean, you can't have a deal without it. Like,
no.
You need
you
need it so much, man. It's funny. It's just I thought of you immediately when they asked the question. I was like, how much time do you have? You know.
Exactly. Where do we start?
Yeah. So when Todd started the title company, when you guys started it, like, did he talk to you about it first and say, hey, I'm going to start this? Maybe have you be a part of it? Or he's like, I'm doing it. And then
No. I mean, I was with Aveda. I was full on.
Okay.
You know, I mean, and I loved my job. I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I traveled pretty much all over Florida. And like I said, I mean, I was helping salon owners to either improve their business, or I was taking salon professionals to the next level. I loved educating. You know, I mean, I taught hair color, business, all of that. So he told me about it, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. That's great. Have fun.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it
didn't even think twice.
No, and that's what's funny is when Todd and I got together, we had two separate entities that we did. So, like, I'll see you later. I mean, well, first of all, I was in Fort Lauderdale. He was here. Eventually, you know, we ended up in the same spot. But no, our home life was different because we would talk about what each other did.
Yeah.
You know? And then coming to the business together, now we live it every single day.
Yeah, that's super cool. It's kind of the same. Me and Caitlin, we met, we were working together, which was really cool. And then she had her own thing, I had my own thing, and now we're back working together, which I absolutely love. You know, it's
That's
like
good.
You get to see all aspects of each other, you know, the professional side. And a lot of times, hopefully, it does for us, and it seems like that for you. It brings you a lot closer.
It does. That's the one thing people will say. How in the world can you work every day with your husband?
That's
and
how
I'm
you
like,
really know they're the one.
Oh yeah. I'm like, some days, you know, I mean, there's days. What's funny, because our phone system that we have, it's all connected. So he's in Stewart, I'm in Fort Pierce, and our phone system's connected. And he'll always say, "Will you please stop hanging up on me?" But that's what I do. Like, I have a point where I'm done. I just hang up. We'll talk later.
I'm in the middle of something. Okay, that's your way. The hang up talks. Okay. Like,
It does.
depending on where it is in the conversation, it means something different.
Yep.
Sometimes my ear hurts, you know. Sometimes I got somebody in the office looking at me that I need to get to. Yeah, they all mean something. And the longer you're together, the more he'll learn. He's like, oh, okay, somebody just walked in the office. I get it.
Done. Yeah. Or we'll talk about this later. It's all fine.
And then, so as far as real estate, when you got your license, even before you got your license, were you already helping out in the office and stuff with it, or?
No, I was working in title.
Okay.
So I was doing 100% title. And, you know, Todd had just acquired Real Estate of Florida, I think half of it at that point. So he was like, you know, why don't you be a little bit more involved, get your real estate license? And honestly, as a title agent, when you're filling out the settlement statements and you're seeing how much these agents are getting paid for everything, you're like, okay, I want a piece of this. Like, seriously, come on. So, I mean, to be completely transparent, you know. So that was why, but no, I was doing 100% title. And I think that helped me in getting my real estate license.
Big time.
Because I understood so much of the business without even truly doing the business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the title is involved in pretty much every single, from we sign the contract, we're already sending the contract to the title office, say, hey, you guys are going to be getting the deposit, the escrow, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, it's from bell to bell. You guys are involved with it, and it's such an important part. And you guys do a great job. I do, you know, I guess, you know, for the last year, I've been using you guys solely, you know. It's just because you know how I work. Yeah. You know where I suck at. You know, you're like, all right, this is how we're going to have to do this. No.
No.
You guys got
Angie's
me.
Amazing. Angie's
well,
fantastic.
so that's a whole other part, my transaction coordinator.
She's fantastic. I love to work with her.
And I mean, I'll pay her fee all day, because once again, you know, it's you got to know what you're good at. You got to know what you're not good at, but it just don't let what you're not good at hold you back. Right. You know, it's an opportunity to delegate, to grow, you know, to invest in. And so this is funny. I'd like to know, in your mind, you know, you have a lot of things that you're really good at, but where do you think you're lacking? What are some of the things that that you want to work on?
Well, it's funny because it just came in my head as you were saying that. I tend to be somewhat of a control freak. Okay. I want control of everything. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So where I'm trying very, very hard is to delegate more, you know, and especially with Todd, you know, I mean, because that's one thing. Todd will just step back. He's like, fine, do it, because he doesn't want to, you know, rock the boat. But in all honesty, I need his help. I need help. You know, just when it comes time to hire at the title office, it's very hard for me to hire out because I know how I do it. I want someone to be able to do it how I do it. And I have to know, you know, Lori, you didn't learn that way. You know, you learn by making mistakes, and you learn by, you know, and I mean, and I honestly believe that one of the best ways to learn is by making a mistake. Yep. So I have to live that. I've taught that and preached it my whole career to other people, but I have to learn it myself.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. Yeah, there's no teacher like experience, you know. That's everything. And then you really don't learn until something goes wrong.
Exactly.
You know,
I'm a firm
easy
believer
to do.
in that.
Everything's great, but you got to learn how not to do it a lot of times.
And how to handle it. You know, I mean, when it doesn't work, is, you know, to be able to handle that as well. So. Yeah, very important. So we got the real estate, we got the title, which you're amazing at all of it. So the control part, you know, how else does that hold you back? Like, where else? Like, where do you run into? Like, oh my God, I have to have control of this. Where else do you run into that? Well, I was a single mom.
Okay.
So definitely with my children.
Yes.
And they still feel it. You know, I mean, they're older now. I mean, 32, 29, and 25. So wild. And I still want to be the decision maker in their life.
And if you see them all, I mean, they look like all brothers and sisters, just so you know, if you see them all.
They're fantastic. But that is true. I mean, but what's great with my kids is they also hold me accountable. You know, I mean, I made that true at a very young age.
And you know what? I
call
see
me
it.
out.
I see, and it's a beautiful thing. You got to see, you know, when I see you and Jake together, it's the coolest. Like, it's the coolest dynamic what you guys have as a family. You know, he's got so much respect for you. But, like, you respect his opinion so much as well, which I think as a child, you need that for your confidence. I was just talking to Daniel about that. You know, you got to give your kids confidence. You can't just kind of put them down and tell them they're wrong all the time and this is the way I do it. You got to show them that respect to them so they can gain the confidence and to be able to make decisions on their own and take these leaps in life that you have to. Yeah. So Jake, he actually is in the business and
Yes.
real estate with us as
Yes.
well.
Yes, he
So that's
got
cool
his
to
real
see.
estate license. He's actually been helping out at title.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Lately, yeah.
Cool.
So he's learning the title side. Although his
Oh,
real estate's picking up, which is
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So I don't know how long I'm going to have him, but no, I mean I'm truly, truly, truly blessed with my children. I mean,
Yeah.
one thing when I moved to Florida, Jake was already in California because he was in the Navy. Chelsea lived there, and then Troy he had just got done with high school. And I sat them down and I'm like, are you guys okay if I leave, if I move, you know? And it was so cool because they were like, you know what, Mom, you've done everything for us. Your whole life was us. Go do you, and we will support you. And they have, like, through every step of it. So that I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed. They're
Well, I
good
mean,
kids.
that starts with you doing such a great job with them.
Well,
you
thank
know, like you think about it. Do you think they would have that same sentiment if you didn't, like you say, give them everything they needed, and not it's not even the money part. You know,
it was
it's
never material. I
emotional,
didn't have it.
that emotional, you know, support and love, which to me is the most important thing. You know, it's like the money is just a byproduct of doing the right things. You know?
Yeah. It's funny. One of the coolest stories that Jake will tell is that we were sitting home one night, and we always played games. We are a huge, huge, huge game family. We always played games. And we were playing games like with a blanket out, and I just had candles, and they're like, Mom, why? Like, what are we doing? I'm like, oh, we're just camping. It's just fun. We're just going to camp tonight, when legit the electric was off. They had no idea.
Yeah.
And there was no way in the world I was going to tell them. And Jake will tell that story now. He's like, that's just the coolest thing. We never knew. I mean, we didn't have a lot, but I mean, we definitely always had each other. So
yeah, man,
I love that.
And those things, you know, those are things that have, I'm sure, making you stronger, make him stronger day to day, man. Motivation, you know, that's super, super cool, man. So one of the things about you that I really respect and admire so much is your mindset, the mindset that you work so hard to keep on a day to day basis. You know, like this is a thing that it means a lot to me, that I really concentrate on a lot of times, because it's real easy to get derailed.
Oh yeah.
It's very easy. This is a tough world. You know, things are happening left and right. But at the end of the day, where your head is at, or where you can put your mind, is everything. Yeah. That's your reality. You're seeing everything around you through this lens, and then your mindset is almost like the filter. Yeah. You know, so all these things that happen around you, I mean, you could either look at it and be like, oh my God, the world's gonna end, or wow, this is pretty intense. What can I learn from this? Where can we take this? Yeah. How can I pivot? How can I move? So when it comes to that, I know you consume a lot of content. You read a lot of books. Yes. Who are your three favorite, I want to say, authors, influencers? Who are your three favorite that you think really help you, that you've learned so much when it comes to mindset?
First and foremost, Tony Robbins. I've actually been to a few of his events. I've walked on fire.
Cool.
And all that. I love him. Darren Hardy.
Okay.
Darren Hardy's fantastic. He actually wrote The Compound Effect. Yeah. And I truly believe that it's the little things that you do every day that are going to make the biggest impact in the end. And that's why I'm up at 5 a.m. You know, that's why I do the CrossFit. That's why, I mean, do I want to get out of bed? No. But as soon as I do it at 6:30, I'm like, yes. So at 6:30 a.m., I've already accomplished, you know, a huge check off of my box. And then the third one is Simon Sinek. Okay. So Simon Sinek is all about the why, you know, and I think that that's so important in our lives is why are we here? Not so much of the what. And I think that the everyday life, people get really, really stuck on the what, and they forget about the why. And the why is what brings you back to, you know, getting out of bed at 5 o'clock, you know, really just, you know, setting out your day and making sure that if you don't meet it that day, then, you know, coming back and doing it the next day. One thing that I always do, and I've done this for so long, is I'll sit and I picture who's behind me, who's watching me. And I see Chelsea, Jake, and Troy.
Oh, wow. I love that.
And if I don't move forward, I'm not being the mom that I'm supposed to be to them. Whether they know it or not, I mean, they would tell you I would never let them down, but in my mind it does. So that's my why. Wow, that's my biggest why is man. Those three just like standing behind me like, what are you doing? And and I do it.
I love that. I really, really do love that. And that's, I mean, and it shows in what you do. You know, you're all the way in with these things. You know, with the real estate, you're always you're at these seminars, you're taking classes. I mean, you're always doing that. I love to see that, man. So
Thanks.
Darren Hardy, Simon Sinek is one that I haven't really got into. Hardy, I've listened to him for a while, but I've been away from his content probably about a year or so. So I definitely want to kind of dive back into that, because that compound effect, those are all, you know, it's like you say, everything, you know, the gym has been such a big part of my last couple years. And it's those things, you know, it's like saying, hey, keeping the promises to yourself.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Like that's, if you, how can you have any type of confidence if you continually let yourself down?
Yep.
And that's really where it starts. So that I need to kind of get back on that. Once again, I do live some of it, but it's always good to just dive into it, and having somebody that's, you know, that's been through so much more than you and that has gotten so much further than you. You know, it's the kind of people you're around.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say this about you and Todd, man. You guys, like, it's like being around you guys just feeds me. You know what I mean? It feeds my soul, not only because you guys as a couple, but you guys in business and where your head's at with things and how you do things. It's really, I do appreciate it, man. It's a super cool thing.
That means a lot. Thank you.
Oh yeah. And then as far as books, you know, you said the compound effect, what was the other one from Dan Hardy? No, that was Dan Hardy. Simon Sinek. Which are some of the books that
Simon Sinek, well, he has, I mean, it's about the why.
That's what it's called?
I mean, that's one of his big ones is that it's all about the why. And that actually, that's kind of a really good book to start with him. He has podcasts and stuff, you know what I mean? And that's one thing that I'll do in the morning. Well, okay, 5 a.m. Club. Huge.
That's him as well?
No, that's not him, but that's one of my favorites. But it takes me back to him. Okay. Because in the mornings, I will listen. Like, so I go to the gym, and then on my way back, I listen to something podcast, because that's kind of the why. Is you have to, I mean, you get your body going and your juices flowing, so then it kind of opens up your mind. So then what are you going to fill your mind with? Yeah. Is it going to be, which I love music, but is it going to be just listening to the radio, or is it going to be someone who's feeding me things that I need? Yep. So Simon Sinek is one that I'll listen to on the way back from the gym a lot. Okay. But the 5 a.m. Club, that is Own Your Morning, Elevate Your Life. All right. And it's really cool how the story is told, because it's told as a story, not as a motivational book. And you really just get all tied up into it, but he gives so many good learnings. He does this 20-20-20, and that's like the morning hour is 20 minutes of exercise, 20 minutes of, you know, feeding your brain, and then 20 minutes of meditation or journaling or something else that you want to do. And if I get off track of that, it's so funny. Like Jake especially, he'll walk into work and he's like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Why are you grumpy?" And I missed one. Wow. It never fails. It will just, like you said, you'll be derailed. It will totally derail my day. Yeah. So I'm curious, in the gym. Yes. What do you listen to in the gym? So while you're working I'm out? In CrossFit, so everybody listens to the same thing. Okay. So the way they do it, it's just very upbeat, peppy. Okay. It's actually a lot of Latino music, because it really gets you going. Like, I have no clue what they're saying. It's the tempo. But it's the tempo is fantastic. They'll do, the guy from Detroit, Eminem. Okay. Yeah. A lot of him. I love Pitbull. Now, if I'm in a gym by myself, it's Pitbull all day long. Really? Oh, I love him. How cool, man. I love Mr. 305. It's funny. I was just on Saturday in Fort Myers, and we were helping out with the Fort Myers Latin Music Fest. Oh. And the headliner was Osmani Garcia. Okay. Which he has songs with Pitbull, with Julian Marley. So it's that, you know, kind of really upbeat Latin vibe, Latin reggae, Latin. Oh, so, if I'm feeling down, I turn him on and I'm fine. That's awesome. In fact, when I went to Tony Robbins in Miami for the Unleash the Power Within, I guess him and Pitbull are good friends or whatever. Plus, Pitbull's in Miami. We had a free concert. Oh, wow. How cool, man. Yeah, that was awesome. How cool. It's crazy. This stuff is still amazing. I mean, Pitbull came out when I think I was just out of high school, maybe. Yeah, he has a great story. Ripping. He has a great story. Oh yeah, I don't know much about. He is a good person. Really, great story. What I know, I've seen a couple of his, you know, shorts and stuff. He's very I don't want to use the word motivated, but you know, he's very disciplined. Yes.
and understands to take that leap, make that jump, go for it, man. You know, don't worry about what people are saying because everybody's always going to have something to say.
Everybody will always have something to say. And that's one thing I always taught the kids too, is it's how you take that information in, because people are going to be mean. Unfortunately, the world is mean.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's how you let that affect you or don't let that affect you, you know, or flip it to the positive. I mean, that's one thing I've always tried to do. You know, it's raining outside. Well, the trees need water.
Yeah, there you go. No, man. And you know, it's funny for me. I'm very much like that. I've been accused of almost being insensitive sometimes because, well, here's the thing: if something really bad is happening, and I find the bright side of it, some people are offended that I don't feel as bad as they do about it. But you know, I have to explain my intent. You know,
it's like that.
Right?
I've had that done to me too, and I didn't understand it. That actually makes me feel better.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, and I figured at first I was like, I'm actually trying my hardest to make you feel better.
Yes.
But a lot of people find comfort in feeling bad, it seems like.
Yes. I was actually told once that I was callous.
Yes.
And I'm like,
me too.
Hey, Lori and callous does not go in the same sentence.
No,
what are you talking
I'm one of the
about?
most caring people, and what you're trying to do is help them cope.
Yes.
But some people don't want that.
Or they're not ready yet.
Yes. And so I've learned to be a lot more I guess conscious of when I go to like, hey, there is a silver lining. Yeah. Some people don't want to hear that. No. Some people want like, oh my God, it sucks so bad. I know I'm so, you know, and so I'm learning. You kind of finesse it a little bit, but I don't let it skew my mindset. Right. I don't ever want to sit and moan and mope about things. You know, I understand that it's up to me. Yes, it's okay to feel bad and know what it feels like, but then it's like, okay, well, it's time to move. But it's
your big girl panties on.
It's a touchy subject. It really is, you know,
because
like I said, for some people it does come across like that. You know. Yep. So let's go to, do you have any deals, whether title or real estate, which were like a total disaster, like a nightmare client that blew up? I know we've talked about some pretty funny situations, but so I'm sure you got something.
Let me think. Well, it was real estate, and then I was doing the title work as well, but it was our real estate deal. Yeah. That the house was brand new. They had bought it brand new, but it was like 15 years ago. Okay. And so when you're going through and you had to, like, on the title commitment, we had to satisfy all of the loans of everything. Well, there was partial mortgages and partial loans that had to be satisfied because they were sold as different parcel units. Okay.
I remember this.
Yeah. So the one that we were actually selling, of course, there was no satisfaction. And I'm like, are you serious right now? So the business was already out of business, of course. So the contractor was out of business. Oh, wow. But fortunately, the guy was still around. So the old owner. So I got a hold of him. Oh, he was so angry. He's like, I paid all my bills, and just yelling at me. I'm like, listen, I just need the satisfaction. If we could just find it. Well, the bank that he had the satisfaction with had sold off to another bank. Okay, so I called the new bank. They had no idea because the loan numbers don't match, nothing, whatever. But I found someone who would dig a little bit deeper for me, and we actually did, before closing, we had the satisfaction of that parcel mortgage. So he actually did pay it off. But that bank had no record. They never recorded it with the county. So we had to go back and record it and make sure that it was there before closing. So
wow. So if you didn't have it, it wouldn't have closed.
No.
Like you would have been stuck.
Oh no, yeah, you can't close on that.
Oh man.
Yeah, our underwriter would not license. No.
So any lessons you learned from that?
I mean, really, because what happened, we didn't have control of that. Yeah. So, I mean, I think maybe, you know, because we satisfy the mortgages, you know, and it's just making sure that everything is recorded. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's the biggest thing. And recording things are so important. I mean, that's the big thing with title, too, is making sure the names are spelled correctly. We've had that, too. Making sure the legal description is correct, because it's not always right on the deed before. You have to go to the property appraisers and make sure that it's right. We've even had that wrong. So
Yeah.
it's like,
no, I've seen it too. So for me, what I see is like just keep on digging. You know what I mean? Like you could have just been like, oh man, this sucks. We can't do it. Oh, deal's
no,
not
I'll tell you a
happening.
good story though. We had it was actually one of our agents at Real Estate of Florida, but she handed us the title and she said, okay, well, it's for a land, and the sellers are only email me. They will only email me. They won't talk to me. And I'm like, no. There's way too much fraud. So I actually did. I put my Sherlock Holmes hat on and I went all through Google, LinkedIn, Facebook. I searched until I found this true seller. Called him. He was not selling his property. He actually called me back with his 4 sons on the phone, and they were all just like drilling me because then they got worried, like, well, who are you and how did you know all this information? So I had to prove to them who I was, and I was only trying to protect them, and that, the house now, the lot was not for sale. We did not sell it. But yeah, they even had his driver's license and everything. So it's that's one of the biggest, scariest things right now is the fraud, is making sure that, if you use us, I'm going to do my due diligence, but making sure that the title company or the lawyer's doing their due diligence, because there's a lot of people out there. They're smart.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm hearing
really
a
smart.
lot of it, especially with land.
Yes,
you're getting
land
a lot of
especially.
empty lots because there's a lot of empty lots sitting that, people are from out of the country that they, just haven't coordinated with it, haven't spoken to anybody in a while. They're like, oh, this is the one. And people just act like them, go get the money, to go to get the title. How does it work? Like, at what point do these people get paid? And like, how does this work? I know how they try to do it.
Well, if it closes, they're going to get the seller proceeds are coming back to them.
But they can't transfer the title?
Oh, and that's the thing is some of the title companies aren't doing their due diligence. They're just taking that license and they're doing it. So another thing is the seller stuff has to be notarized, right?
So they're getting the money. The actual owner loses the property.
Loses the property, gone.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And those people are probably now gone out of the country, money spent, and it's done. There's nothing you can do about it.
Wow.
But one thing that we do at our title company is I will not allow, because you used to do, you would send the paperwork to the seller, say, go get it notarized and send it back. Absolutely not. I will pay for a remote notary every single time just to make sure that, because I know that they're looking at the right person. Yeah, making sure that it's them.
Good. So that kind of goes into title. I know there's some new policies, some stuff that's been very controversial, maybe. So what are the latest things? And let me see if I'm thinking of the same things you are.
Well, the newest law that I think you're speaking of is the foreign interest. So
yes.
Yeah. So July 1st, there was a new affidavit that has to be signed by the buyers stating that they are not residences of 7 different countries.
Okay. Which countries are those?
Oh, you're going to test me. I know it's China.
Okay.
And there's Cuba. There's Venezuela. Syria, I think. I don't know them all offhand. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I can get that to you for sure. But I haven't had any challenges with it. I haven't had any buyers that have balked at it. But I'm thinking other parts of Florida, maybe a little further south, may have some challenges with it.
Yeah.
And it's actually a good thing. The reason is China was buying up a lot of land around our military bases. That's not something that we want. So fortunately, Florida put into law that July 1st, this is, and it's still, being talked about.
So if somebody's a resident in China, they can't buy property in certain places.
Correct.
Wow.
And as a
or Venezuela.
Correct.
Or
and
any
there's
of these
Cuba.
other
Well, and I
countries.
actually had a closing yesterday, and she's like, "Well, I'm from Cuba." I'm like, "But are you a resident of the United States?" She goes, "Yes." I said, "Then you're fine. Then it's a non-foreign interest. So it's either you're a foreign
Did she
interest
feel
or you're
offended at all or
Not at all.
anything?
In fact, she was very happy. She said, "This is a great thing."
Wow.
Yeah.
Because I've heard the other side of it. I've heard a few people saying like, how could they do that? Just because somebody's from some country, it's going to restrict them where they could buy. So it's a very touchy subject, I think.
It is. But I think
But
once again,
our security is most
picture,
important.
Yes,
Yeah.
looking at the big picture, and it does state in there, being close to military bases. I believe it's within 5 miles or something
that's
of a
it?
military base. No, there's other stipulations, but that's the biggest, watch out is making sure that we're safe as a country.
Yeah.
We live in this country and we want to make sure that we are protected.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have different opinions about everything.
Well, it's funny. I get that, and if you look at a lot of other countries, like we are actually one of the most lax.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, and people get so offended about some of these things coming in, but it's like, I don't know. I don't like to get into politics too much, but, you know, when you step back and look at the big picture, you know, some of these things, it's like, you know, it's if we didn't do it and something were to happen, everybody's going to say, how could you let this happen?
Exactly.
You know, so no, I definitely get it. Definitely get it.
Yeah.
And then getting into real estate, one of the most common questions, hey, what's happening with the market? Like, well, where do I start? You know, like.
I think it's a very complex question. I mean, especially in Florida, because I mean, if you just look at, I mean, Hutchinson Island, where I live, and you look at Port St. Lucie, those are two totally different markets.
Yeah.
Two totally different, you know, answers to the question. So where we are on Hutchinson Island, I would say that it's a little slower right now because we're out of season.
Yeah.
You give us a few months, it's going to be banging. You know, so it's
when you say slower, you know, I like to see where the market's at always. And when you say slower, are we in a neutral market there, or is it a buyer's market already, or like how far slow?
Well, what we're seeing, I'll just say personally, with the listings that we have on the island, is unless they live here, why would you buy now with something that has the HOA and the taxes and sit on it until you're going to be here,
sense.
Right?
Okay.
If you're going to live here full time, then absolutely, you're probably going to buy it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I mean, that's kind of where I was seeing it, is that, because like our listings that we have, I mean, they're sitting right now.
Yeah.
You know, but you give us a couple months, it's going to be flowing and coming through because people, they're more willing to buy something if they're going to be in it.
Yeah.
Versus living in New York and they're not here.
You know, I never even thought of that. The last time I was looking at it, the homes like up to 450, 500, single family, you know, with kids and good school zones, those are still moving. Still moving really fast, you know, and it kind of makes sense. Probably some of these more retirement areas, you know, nicer condos on the water, anything over 500, especially when you get up over 700. I mean, it's all really, it's not really slow.
I wouldn't say it's stopped. It's just,
it's slow. It's slowed down.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we say slow down, but it's still about a neutral market. You know, it's hasn't really gone to where it was when it was like stuff is expiring, all the, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, I was just at the Florida Realtors convention in Orlando last month. Yeah. And one thing they kept saying is 1,200 people are moving to Florida a day. 1,200 a day. 1,200 a day. So, I mean, it's happening. People still want to live in Florida, so it's not changing.
I love Florida.
I do too.
Yeah, it's really, it's a gem, you know, and it's funny, once again, you know, you have a lot of people who are like, man, can't believe you live there. Like, it's, you know, I'll never understand, you know, like, well, sorry, you know, we got lots of beaches and.
I know. You know? It doesn't suck.
Yeah. Taxes are still low, you know.
Well, I just met up with our friends from Ohio. We went to the West Coast to see them last weekend, and that's what they were saying. You know, but it's like, I feel bad because I was one that said I will never take advantage of it. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I don't.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so that I have to incorporate more into my life too.
Oh, yeah. That's one thing. Same with me. I love fishing. I mean, I used to fish 5-6 days a week, you know, so right now with my son and stuff, I still try to get it in, but I don't do it nearly as much. But I guess I'm busting butt right now, so I can, you know.
Well, you know why? Because the what gets in the way. You got to go back to the why, and then you're going to incorporate it in your everyday life.
Love it. Love it. So, let's talk about real estate of Florida. So right now you're right at about 200 agents, 199.
Yes,
Did you
hit 200? Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you very
huge.
much. Yes.
So,
we're very proud.
So in the next 5 years, what do you see in the business? Are you going to try to continue to grow it, or do you like where it's at now? Where do you see?
Our ultimate goal is to have more locations. I think that we actually really want to spread out across Florida. We belong to 5 boards now.
Wow.
Including the West Coast, and I think the only one we don't have is like Panhandle.
Wow.
Yeah, so our goal is to grow that business.
Yeah.
You know, with me getting my broker license, you know, that's going to open up a lot more doors for us as well. Instead of everybody calling Todd,
yeah.
You know, we can both kind of help out and work together. But our goal, our main goal in purchasing it was branding. We want to brand the name.
Yeah.
And
well, great foresight with the name. real estate of Florida, you can go anywhere in the state, you know, and I'm sure it was that part of the plan from the beginning when he started it years ago?
I believe so, yes. Yeah. David Fetzner is actually the guy that came up with the name. Yeah. That's who Todd purchased it from originally. But it's a fantastic name. And that's why Todd did Title Services of Florida.
Yeah, you can go anywhere.
Yeah, so we can go anywhere in Florida. And I mean, we've, of course, played around with the idea, well, we could also do real estate of Ohio. We could do real estate of Tennessee, Yeah. But that's the cool thing with Todd and I is there's no limit. I mean, we'll just keep going until we can't go anymore. So
I love it. And then as far as the industry as a whole, there's a lot of things being shaken up right now. Right now, I know there's that big lawsuit.
Yes.
Where are we at with that? I haven't. Last I heard,
it actually goes into hearing this month or October. So I think when the first 2 weeks of October is when it's actually going into hearing right now. But it could be a huge shift for realtors because what they're talking about is the seller paying the commissions. So and that's how realtors have always worked.
So explain exactly when you say the seller paying the commissions. Yep. That's how it is now, though.
It is. It is how it is now. But what they're saying is that why should it be that way? Why shouldn't the buyer?
So they want now what it is. They want the buyer to be able to pay the buyer half, and the seller just be responsible for the seller half.
So realtors are going to have to get used to having a conversation with their buyer.
Yeah.
Of would you sign this broker agreement of a buyer's agent and potentially pay me something?
Not potentially, why would an agent?
Or they could say, no, I'm not going to work with you.
Yeah, so I think if this goes through, the whole buyer agent, that whole business model, it's just not going to make sense. Why wouldn't?
True. It will adjust. I don't know. That's Todd and I. We've been to a couple, seminars just to know a little bit more about it because we need to start having the conversations with our agents now.
Yeah.
I want them to understand this is coming.
Yeah.
It is coming now.
Smart.
Could it get thrown out? Maybe, but there's also 1 or 2 other lawsuits that are similar that are coming later in the year. Yeah. So this isn't a one-time thing, and so it's looking at your business in a different way. What that different way is, I don't know. A lot of it's going to determine what the lawsuit says, but it's being prepared for it.
Okay.
Being prepared to having those conversations because a lot of agents, they don't even like having the commission conversation with the seller.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's if you're not comfortable having that with the seller, how in the world are you going to turn around and have it with a buyer? So that's our goal at Real Estate of Florida is making sure that all of our agents are comfortable with that conversation, depending on which way it goes, because the market could completely shift.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. What's going to stop everybody for just going to the seller's agent?
Absolutely.
They will
have that right.
Now, but here's the thing. If a buyer were to go to the seller's agent, when the seller signs the listing agreement with the seller, correct?
Correct.
Are they signing it as just 3%?
Could be, but also, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's also been on the MLS that it's $1. We'll pay you $1. So the seller now is going to have a lot more negotiation with their seller agent of, well, I'll just pay 3 because I don't have to worry about the buyer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The buyer's agent's going to pay them. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, this is definitely going to shake it up in so many different ways.
But I think another thing, too, that bothers me, and I'm new to real estate, but for so long, it's people look at it as the seller's paying that. The seller's not paying that. The buyer's buying the house.
Yeah.
The buyer's money is what's paying for that commission ultimately.
Yeah.
But
it's they're counting their money.
That way.
They're counting their money before it's in the pocket. So that's gonna be mine, so I have to give it up. But that's not the way it is. It's hey, this is part of the deal. This much goes here. This much goes here. When the money comes in, it's not yours.
No.
And there's got to be a way to explain that.
Yes.
I haven't had too much issues with that, but I've heard of the stories.
Yeah.
Why am I paying the buyer? But it just you got to kind of help them separate.
Right. Well, and I think it also goes back to, when you're having that conversation, is showing the value that you're going to give to them.
Yeah.
It's not just a number. Honestly, the commission conversation, and that is one thing I've learned over the past year with Carlos.
Yes.
With EXP. Carlos, I learned a lot from him in the small amount of time that I was there, but one of the things that I love is having that commission conversation. And it was showing your value, you know? And so the last listing that Todd and I actually, the last conversation we just had, it was, this is what it'll be. And they said, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Like there was absolutely no pushback, nothing. And it's because this is the value that I'm going to give to you. This is what I'm going to do, you know, and everybody gets paid a paycheck. So, you know, you accept it and move on from it. But I think that's the key is agents can't just go from this to this to this. It's what do you give when you're there? What is that value that you're giving to that person? Why should they use you? I mean, there's a lot of agents in the state of Florida. They have a lot of options.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the things I learned, you know, from Joe Rosen as well. Like, I mean, he'll get signed 7% listing agreements. He goes for it and he gets it, 6.5%. But man, that man is an amazing agent, and he knows how to show his value. Not only does he show it, he actually acts upon it.
Exactly.
You know, so it's really cool. Yeah, it's there. You know, it's just you got to be brave enough. Number one, you got to be confident.
Yes.
To know that you can deliver it. Then when you're confident that you know you can deliver it, it's easy to convey that.
Right.
It's easy to speak that with conviction.
Yep.
And then that's definitely one of the things I've seen from him. And obviously me, I'm still learning, still trying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had somebody ask me, like, oh, how low of a commission would you do my house? It's like, that's not how you start a conversation.
How low of a paycheck would you take from your employer?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, no.
What do you do for a living?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
No.
Yeah. No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then how about artificial intelligence?
Yes.
Are you using any of it now? And if not, do you plan on? And the third part, where do you see it fitting in our industries in the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay. Are we using any? Very little.
Okay.
Are we going to? Absolutely. I think that, you know, people say artificial intelligence is going to ruin the business. No, you're going to get ruined by the people that are not using the the people that are not using it are going to get ruined by the people that are.
Yep.
So yes, we recognize that. Still trying to do some research as far as which way I want to go and what I want to do with it, because it's different. You know, it's kind of like when computers came out and they're like, oh, they're not going to go anywhere. Yeah. You know, it's like this is a real thing. It's who we are today. So it's just finding the right avenue of what to take. 5 to 10 years, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that anybody would ever truly walk away from human contact.
Yeah.
Being brought up in the beauty industry as I was, one thing that we always taught, even 20 years ago, was that hairdressers would never be replaced by a computer because people want that touch. And fortunately, I think real estate is very similar. People want to talk to someone. They want to feel and touch and know. Also, you want word of mouth. You know, you're going to take a recommendation from someone that you know has already worked with them. So I don't know if you're asking if I think AI is going to take over the world. I don't believe that.
How do you think it's going to affect it, though? Like, in what areas do you think it's going to I know it's going to make it better.
Oh, I think
it's going to make everything. I think
it's going to make it a lot better.
I'll say everything. It's going to make a lot of things better.
It's going to make a lot of people
better at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, which is good. It's a little healthy competition from a computer, you know, making sure that, but it's also going to, I think it's going to be time saving, you know, like putting together videos or, you know, putting together an email that I can just go, boom, it's done.
Yeah.
Including a video inside my email, which we can do now, but I believe that it's going to be quicker and faster, and you're going to have maybe a library that you just hit and you take it from, you know, something like that. The Zoom calls, and I mean, it's already adjusting, but I think that all of those are for the better, because just like with the Zoom calls, you took people that were all over parts of the world and they're all in one room together on a TV screen. So it made people feel together even when you couldn't be together.
It's like looking back at COVID.
Yes.
You know, you look back at COVID and so many people were like, oh man, it ruined this and it ruined that. I look back and it's like, man, it really opened us up to new ways of communicating that make people so much more efficient.
Yes.
You know, it really, a lot of people took it and said, okay, where is the world going?
Yep.
And how can I double down on it and be a part of it?
Yep.
You know, some things are inevitable, like AI. It's inevitable.
It's coming.
You know, I think we learn it. It's here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's here.
Learn it. Try to figure out the way it's, you know, it'll affect you the best way to use it. And like another thing that's inevitable I see as in growth, you know, growth in a community. Yeah. You know, you have a lot of people and even governments in some areas that want to fight it. and they're acting like, hey, we're going to do everything we can for it not to happen. But you know what's happening? It's going to happen. And if you didn't believe that before, now you're behind, and now your town is a mess.
Yeah.
Roads are clogged. You know, you can't get anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's like anything, man. You gotta, you can't change everything, and you gotta remember the things you can't change. You gotta learn to grow with it and be a part of it.
Absolutely.
You know?
One thing that I would just caution is making sure that people still do stay connected, though. You know, I mean, one thing that I saw, like with my children being the age that they are, you know, the cell phone thing, you know, kind of happened. And one thing that I was very, very proud with all three of them is that they'll pick up the phone to call me. It's not, you know, they would prefer to talk than text.
That's good.
And I love that. And I don't ever want to see that to go away. I mean, that's one thing I see in the difference of now of children is and maybe they won't go and have a conversation because they don't know how to, you know. And so that's the one thing that I don't want it to take away is that personal is very, very important. I mean, we as humans need touch, you know. I mean, I don't know the exact details, but there's something, if a baby's born and not touched within a certain amount of time, they'll die.
Wow.
So it's like you need that touch still.
Yep.
So as much as AI can help and improve, yes, there's some watch outs with it.
You gotta learn to make it work. You know, don't let it work you.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes total sense. You know, communication is funny. Sometimes somebody will text me and I'll call and be like, whoa, phone call.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, or they won't answer and you're like, you just text me. Well, I didn't want to talk to you. Well,
Yeah. No, it's funny stuff, man. So yeah, so that's, you know, crazy world we're living in, but it's so cool, so many awesome things coming.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So also, when it comes to the real estate market, we were just talking about the island, right? So do you see any time, or do you see anything that could cause a dip in the market here soon? Do you see any signs, any indications?
Not that I see, but like I said, 90% of my world is title.
Yeah.
So that might be a tag question.
Okay. All right. Because people, that's a question I get. Oh, when's it gonna go down? I'm like, well, I don't. I
mean, I honestly, I don't know. Just from hearing conversations with him, and I mean, and like I said, title's busy.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting contracts every day, so I don't see anything going away.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's shifting on where they're buying around here, but no, I mean, I don't see anything.
A lot of people are expecting like a crash coming soon. I don't see it. I can't. Now, we can't predict the future.
No.
Can it happen? Yes.
Of course.
But there's too many things pointing, especially here in Florida.
Yeah.
Florida's almost an anomaly. Like you said, how many people are continuing to move here?
Right.
You know, we have a lot to offer, and there's a lot of land here.
That's what I was gonna say. There's still a lot of land.
You ever driven through the state?
Yeah, we just did last
Me
weekend.
too.
Yeah.
And you're just looking around.
There's
you're like,
so much land.
Yeah, man.
So much land.
Everything's in like these little pockets on the coast, and even going up and down the coast, there's so many areas that are just underdeveloped. You know, actually, most of the country is like that. It's funny. You know, you never really realize that. You know, you think of America, hustling, bustling, but most of the country is like nothing there. You know, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential here in Florida.
Yep.
And I'm on the same boat with you. You know, I just don't see it.
No, I'm comfortable.
You know?
I'm comfortable.
No
with,
bubble.
No, I'm comfortable with, you know, the businesses that we have.
Yeah.
You know, the career path that we've chosen. It's not going anywhere. I mean, we're building a legacy for our children. This is what we're doing. You know, especially with Jake being in the business now. You know, that's what we're doing, and I'm very comfortable with the path that we chose. So I don't see anything changing it.
All right. So going into the end here, for anybody that wants to get into real estate and not only become an agent, but really get into it, maybe start a brokerage or, you know, really go far, what kind of advice would you give people just for getting started and, you know, how the business works and what, you know, what you need to, what kind of mindset you need to have?
Gotta like people.
Yes.
But I mean, do your research, you know, understand the different types of brokerages that are out there. Like, I mean, for instance, our brokerage, we are a transactional brokerage. So what that means is the agent actually takes 100% of their commission. They pay us a transaction fee.
Okay.
Within that transaction fee, that helps us with our E&O, with our, I mean, we have an admin, and, the behind the scenes stuff that we have to do. When they originally created this format, they were looking at it from a we only wanted veteran agents. We don't want to have to babysit them. We don't want to have to train them, whatever. But we've actually evolved into, we have a lot of new agents too. Fortunately, my background is training.
Yes.
So, we can incorporate all of that. But I think that it's really understanding the platforms, and what it is that you want for your future, because there are some that, like, they have stock options. There's some that, they do take 20% of your commission or different. There's some that are sliding scales. Yeah. Do you want that education? Do you not care about the education? And just really looking at it from, what do you want in 5 to 10 years? And is this going to fit you? Because as with hairdressers, you don't want to jump around from brokerage to brokerage, just as you don't want to jump around from salon to salon, because it's a similar platform, as I'm thinking about it, because you're building a clientele. You want that clientele to be comfortable. You want them to know where you are. When they go to sell their house in 7 years and they call Real Estate of Florida, you still want to be there. Yeah. You don't want to have moved 3 times and then you just lost them.
Yeah, it kind of shows a little bit of kind of wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
yeah.
Who are you with now?
Well, because I think loyalty is a huge part of it as well. I mean, are you a loyal person? Are you loyal to yourself? You know, do you look in the mirror and do you try to convince yourself of something that's not true, or are you truly who you say you are?
Yeah.
So I think that that's it, and understanding what you want to get out of it, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
It is not a get rich quick at all. I mean, at all. And you really have to be able to work. It's not 9 to 5. On a Sunday afternoon, we can be on the boat and I'm getting a call, or he's getting a call, and you have to be able to accept that. If you want to own your own brokerage, realize that there are a lot of fees going into it. You have your E&O insurance. You have to belong to the board.
What does E&O stand for?
Errors and omissions.
Oh, so it's like if you mess up.
If you mess up or your agents mess up.
Usually.
We have 200 of them. Yeah, so, I mean, there's going to be lawsuits that are going to come at you. I mean, it's going to happen. So you have to have that that E&O insurance. Also, belonging to the boards. We pay a certain percentage to belong to the board, and then the agents pay a certain percentage to belong to that board. Are you going to have a brick and mortar? Are you going to actually have an office? We chose to do that because we like that. So it's just really looking at what it is that you want to do. And as far as, being an owner, you may or may not get paid for a while. Yeah. Because it goes back to the business. You know what I mean? You're building that to a certain level before you can actually enjoy the profits of it.
Yeah. I guess like with any business, you got to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, very cool, man. Well, Miss Lori, thank you so much for being here.
Than's for having me.
I love all the information. I learned something about you, which is super cool. I'd definitely love to have you back on down the road to kind of see where you're at with the businesses. We're at 200 agents now. I can't wait to see. That's huge.
That's huge.
That's big.
No,
200 agents
and I will
under
tell
you.
you, since we
that.
have taken full ownership, that number has increased enormously. So it's a lot of what Todd's doing. It's a lot of, us together, working together as a team. People are just, they like the format. They like the feeling, like the homey feeling, the comfortable family. I mean, we are a family-owned business, 100%. It's me and Todd. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how can they reach out to you? Anybody that's wanting to get in the business and you love her vibe, and she's a great mentor, great teacher. How would they get a hold of you?
They can actually call Real Estate of Florida.
Okay.
It's 772-600-7400.
And they just ask for Lori.
Ask for Lori.
They're going to know.
They'll get me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then social media? Do you do any social media?
Social media, I mean, I'm on Facebook, of course, Lori Pfeiffer Murphy. But then you can also follow us at Real Estate of Florida. We've got Title Services of Florida, Rising Tides Foundation.
Yes.
Of course. So we're going to have some events coming up, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
Over the next few months. So definitely.
Well, I'm glad you're here. This way we can kind of put our heads together. It's time. We're due. You're reminding me, man, it's 2 years. We got to do something cool.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you again for being here, guys. This was awesome. Lori Murphy, Real Estate of Florida, Title Services of Florida, Rising Tides Foundation. You guys check her out, and we'll be back. See you soon.
Thanks.